You go there with this expectation that you're going to help them, and I did. We're going to go help these people. We're going to build them a church, and we're going to do all this great stuff for them. But whatever blessing they got, I got 10 times, because God uses those experiences to take you out of your comfort zone, because you're out of your country, and make you realize where your weaknesses are and why you need Him more. And I don't think I would have ever gotten to that point if I'd been here in my comfortable little house, in my comfortable, clean area, and all the luxuries that I have here.
When we're driving down the road, there's people everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's people. And you'd think that there was a million people in the rural area, and probably not so, but it just felt like that because they were all out doing something, walking to work, or walking home, or walking, with some friends. That's a big difference. We move around so fast, and they move at a much slower pace.
Probably the biggest thing that I noticed was the lack of noticing it. After the first few days, you kind of just start, you see a piece of trash, you just forget about it. You see some person's house that's made out of tin, you kind of just don't really notice it too much. You just say, hey, that's somebody's house. You don't really think about how much that person makes or what kind of conditions that they live in.
House of Hope is an amazing organization, or I guess like a ministry that reaches out to these women who are coming off the streets from prostitution and sometimes from human trafficking. Sarah, one of our missionaries, she was in the market getting food, and she said, we're going to go visit this girl who my daughter has built a relationship with at school, and her mom's a prostitute, so we're going to go. I drop off food every now and then. And she said, who wants to come? So I volunteered. I'm like, this would be awesome to meet this little girl and just to see kind of what situation before we went to the House of Hope. We go down this hill, we cross this like ravine, it's way back in here, past lots of different trees and down this alleyway, and then over a sewer. I mean, the water is like gray and nasty, and you have to hop over rocks, and then under barbed wire is this woman's house. We get there, and the little girl was like pretty concerned. I mean, it was mostly in Spanish, but she seemed really concerned about her sister, and she was saying how her sister kept falling down and was really like, she didn't know what was wrong. And so then the little girl comes out, the mom brings her out, and she has like milk in her hair, and she just is out of it. I mean, she's just way out of it. And they asked her what had happened, and she had taken 2 of these adult sleeping medications, and it was like that morning, and this was at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and she was still just so sick. And so Sarah asked her if we could take her to the hospital, and the mom was kind of nonchalant about it. It was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so I ended up having to carry this baby across the sewer and across this ravine, and then Sarah carried her the rest away. And the whole time I'm carrying her, I mean, she's just like a limpless doll in my hands. And I'm just praying for her and praying for her family. What impacted me about that situation was that it was so real. Like, this is a family that these people know. This is real. Prostitution does affect children, and it does affect the women, and like, this is a first-hand account of like how it affected this family. The little girl was eventually okay and was admitted to a pediatric unit.
That was honestly the hardest part of the entire trip for me, because at that point I was just so broken down and emotional that all I wanted to do was cry for that family, because you can't blame the mother because she doesn't know any better. And even though she's been offered to go to the House of Hope, it's so hard to make a change like that. And really seeing that baby was like, they only live day to day. Like, they really only live day to day.
If we hadn't been there, I think God directed our group towards them to save that baby. If we hadn't been there, who knows where that baby could have been. It could still be having health problems. And I think that was just a God moment. I don't think that just happens like a coincidence. It was cool to see.
I'm really thankful that there is a ministry like House of Hope, because I feel like with the power of Jesus, He can break that stronghold in their lives. And so I'm really glad there is a place that they can go. And so I'm just praying that more women will have the courage to try it and find out that through Jesus they can be set free from that, wanting to live in that lifestyle, and that they can be empowered to change their life, hopefully.
The people are more content than we are, because they have so little to live off of that it's kind of, they have to rely more on their family than they do, their next paycheck, because their family to them is everything. Whereas here in the United States, it's kind of, oh cool, I got my paycheck, I'm gonna go eat out a few meals, I'm gonna go buy this, I'm gonna go throw gas in my truck, and I'm gonna go drive around and, do that kind of thing, where their paycheck goes to support their family, and ultimately their happiness kind of, in my opinion, is more centered around their family rather than, extra goods, materialistic things.
And it was really humbling to see that we weren't there to make their lives better necessarily. We were there to just show them Christ and show them God's love.
What struck me the most is, that I didn't expect, was how clean they were for living in what you would consider a filthy environment, a dirt floor. The dirt floor was swept twice a day, and it was immaculate, and there was animals running everywhere, but you never saw like poop on the ground or anything, and they washed their hands all the time. It was important to them to have a sink. A whole thing in the market was dedicated to soaps, and I guess I wasn't expecting that, but they were very focused on cleanliness.
You really don't need all this stuff, and that you should be grateful for what you have, and stuff is not what makes you happy. It's the people around you and your relationship with God that makes you truly happy, and there's nothing else that can substitute that.
Well, probably the biggest thing that was different than I expected is third world country hospitals are a little nicer than I thought, because I kind of spent close to 6 hours in one.
Sickness was definitely a blessing in disguise, because it was pretty horrible while it lasted, and we have some funny names for our sickness, but it was very humbling, and it was it was good to have to rely on people and for God to teach me, like, it's okay to admit that you're not 100% right now and that you're not doing okay, and you're gonna have to stay back, because it's not about us, and the work still goes on without us, and that was good to realize.
So often we ask God for help, and then when or when we have our friends and family try to help us with our problems, we're too proud to accept their help. And it's like we think God's going to send an angel from above to solve our problems for us, but those are our angels. Those are the people God uses, our brothers and sisters in Christ, to help us when we have trouble. And so he sends us help, and we turn it away. And by that point in the night, I had made several desperate pleas to God for help. And right then at that point, he said, "Hey, Stormy, I'm sending you help. He's standing outside the door." And I had to let go of my pride and admit that I needed to go to the hospital and let Dave and Ryan take me in, and realize that I can't take care of myself, and that it's okay to let other people help me, and it's okay to let other people see that I'm struggling.
It just really reminded me of that verse in 1 Corinthians 1, where it talks about God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong, and the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. And just to remember that I don't have to try to do things in my own strength, and it's okay if I feel weak or not sure what in the world I'm doing, but God's going to use that. And so to just be willing and available.
I don't know how I didn't get sick. I'm just superior to everyone, and I just hope that they look up to me, because I'm going to survive the zombie apocalypse, because I don't know, don't put that in there.
I had this moment during the service that they held for us at the end. It's hard for me to put this in words, but I went down there with kind of this skewed perspective of, here's us, the missions team, and God's up here, and here's this missions team, and we're going to help these people down here. And as we were in that service, and Pastor Jose was praying, and I had no idea what he was saying, it just struck me very strongly that God doesn't see me and Pastor Jose. God sees Pastor Jose as much as he sees me, and he loves those people with all his heart. They are as important to him as I am, and I am not above them in any way. And suddenly there was a kindred spirit, like we're all the same in God's eyes. He loves every one of us the same, and I need to stop thinking that I'm going to help them. They're there to help me.
It opens your eyes so much. I mean, just seeing the difference in the world and just experiencing the life with people, and I don't know, it just don't miss out on it.
Our first day at the building site, we went and we we dove in, we started helping, and we got a whole ring of blocks put up across the whole church, about 40 blocks, and we felt really good about the day and the amount of work we did. Everyone was excited, tired, but thankful. And we went home that night, and we came back the next day, and they had torn down all of the work we did. Every block was torn down. We were really confused, and we didn't know what was going on. We were wondering, is it something we did? Was it a hate crime? Or why did this happen? And it took a little while, but we found out that a new builder had come, and they put a cement ring in on which to build more blocks. And it would make it better protected, it would give a better foundation. It was a great life lesson because we learned, as hard as it was to see all that work undone and torn down, how often do we build on a false foundation in our lives? God doesn't want us to keep building on things that aren't a good foundation. He wants us to tear them out and build a right foundation. Even though it takes so much more work, it's worth it in the end, because when the storm comes, we're going to be able to stand strong through it.
When we went down to Nicaragua, we went down to build a church. And really what God sent us there was to build the church.
Señor.